All right, you guys, welcome to Squeak Factor. This is your DJ Serena. Tonight I have Shim and Chris of Screaming at Demons. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here and allowing me a bit of your time tonight. How are you this evening?
Great. How you doing?
Very well. Very, very well. Thank you for asking. Tonight we're going to talk about you guys, Screaming at Demons, the Rockstar song, and the Homeless Rockstar project. Shim, Chris, I figured I would ask you, but I didn't. I kind of dropped the ball on that one. Oops. Before who was going to go first when I ask questions, but I guess maybe we'll just figure it out as we go.
Yeah, let's just roll. Let's rock and roll.
Absolutely. Hey, you guys, how old were you when you first started playing?
Chris, why don't you go first?
When I started playing bass, I picked it up in high school, started playing in some rock bands, and wound up going from there.
I was probably, let me think. I think I was about 12 when I started. I was probably 12 when I started picking up the guitar. And I am not like Chris. Chris has had jazz training and he's gone to school for it. I basically picked up the guitar when I was 12 or 13 because I went to school and I was like, hey, I should go to music class in high school because, you can't flunk music class. And they were like, yeah, you need to have an instrument, pick an instrument. So the only thing I had in my house was busted up old acoustic guitar. And so I had to take lessons, which I took for about 2 months. But the teacher was at the bottom of this really big hill, and I hated walking back up it, so I stopped. And then I just taught myself the rest by learning Silverchair songs and Green Day songs and stuff.
That's
so
awesome.
I don't know how I got to the point where I'm on an interview with someone like you, but I figured it out.
I don't know how you guys got off to an interview with me either, or how I've been DJing for 5 years. But hey, it's not about me; it's more about you guys.
Okay.
And so, okay, I'm understanding that Chris, you are versed in the bass guitar, and then Shim, you started off with an acoustic. What else are you versed in?
Chris, what else do you do with those fingers you got there?
I just slap the bass, man. I'm a songwriter as well. I write melodies and lyrics too. I can play a little bit of guitar, a little bit of drums. I wouldn't call myself either a guitar player or a drummer, but I can get by on them. But yeah, mainly just the bass.
Very cool. And Shim,
I started out on guitar and started writing songs straight away, which then led to having to sing. So then I started learning how to sing, and then songwriting. And then when my first band, Sick Puppy, started, I was on drums, so I had to learn how to play the drums because there was some other one person who wanted to play guitar. So there's drums and then piano for songwriting and stuff. But, and then mostly the other stuff is like the directing, the videos and stuff, like the Homeless Rockstars video that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and the Free Hugs video I did a while ago. But before I was doing all that stuff, I was doing movies and television in Australia, which is actually what paid for the band's first demos and all that sort of stuff to get started. So I like to do a lot of different creative stuff.
Very cool. And so it sounds like you guys both do like a compilation of writing, or is it just more you or more Chris?
Well, Chris and I have only been writing together for a short period of time, but the reason that I decided to invite Chris into the band was because we wrote some songs and they just turned out really good. We had a great chemistry. And often at times when we write songs, Russell, actually, the guitar player in Screaming at Demons, we were writing songs before Chris joined up, and we had this great chemistry, and it's very hard to find chemistry. It's something you can't really describe or you can't really work towards chemistry as much as you just have it because your personalities gel, and your playing gels, and the bands you listen to and just who you are comes into it. And a lot of it is, and Russell and I just have this chemistry for some reason. And it's very hard, and Chris was pretty much the only other person that I found outside of Russell in the near future, in these times. I had it with the band at the beginning, but since then, no, it's very hard to find. So when Chris and I started writing together, Chris was throwing out melodies and riff ideas and things that I wouldn't have thought of, and then we were sitting down carving the lyrics out together, and we were both putting in an equal amount, which is really what you look for as a songwriter. The last thing you want to do as a songwriter is be stuck sitting next to someone who's not contributing and feeling like you're being creative in this weird space, and it just feels like weird and it's uncomfortable. So we're definitely all equal contributors.
Very cool. Very, very cool. And so maybe a question for you both. Did either of you have other aspirations when you were younger, or did you guys both know that you always wanted to go into music?
Chris?
You know, I always wanted to be an astronaut, but as soon as I realized that wasn't going to happen, I settled for the bass.
Yeah, I wanted to be a fireman.
Okay, an astronaut, a fireman. That's cool.
I'm just kidding.
No, I wish. I don't think either of us have the intelligence or the stamina to be a fireman or an astronaut. But,
no, that's not true. No, that's not true at all.
We might be able to put out fires in space. We might be able to handle that, but
yeah.
Other than that.
Other than that, I mean, no, I think I was lucky. I did the acting stuff when I was younger, and when I started doing music, I thought, oh, this is great, because no one wants to watch like a 40-year-old rock guy. I need to do it when I'm younger. So I decided to focus on music and be like, oh, I'll get back to the acting later, which I'm doing now. But for a long time, like, I was like, no, focus on music and try to develop your music and rock show abilities and stuff like that, because you don't want to see some, you know, the Rolling Stones are amazing, but then they're not the same band it was before, you know.
Well, yeah, you have to wonder about Joe and, Keith Richards. Like, yeah, they're old.
Yeah.
So I get you.
That's okay. We can edit that part out. Let's move on.
No, you're fine. I always wonder, and I see all those memes, and yeah, just remember when people say they're old, just remember, Keith Richards is like 89, and he doesn't even look it. So you guys are good.
We're fine.
So, hey, starting out, your parents, both of you guys were very supportive. You know, when you guys are out in shows, do they come out to shows and support you both?
Who?
Your mom and dad.
Oh, mom and dad. Chris?
Oh, yeah, my parents were super supportive. I mean, when I first picked up the bass, they were like, oh, are you sure you're going to play it? I don't know, but then I started playing it every day and, you know, got really into it, and they saw that, and they've always been super supportive with everything, so I give them a lot of credit for that.
And do they come out to see you guys?
Sorry, what?
Do they come out to see you play, Chris?
Oh, yeah, they used to come to all my shows growing up. My dad used to videotape them, which is actually great, because then I could sit back and watch the show afterwards and kind of perfect my stage presence and, you know, my sound and everything, kind of like a little tool to watch. And my favorite part was, you know, after starting to do it professionally, I flew them out to Vegas, and they got to see me open up for Chris Cornell. And that was like the first time they were like, wow, okay, you're like, you know, doing it for real. And ever since then, it's been off to the races, and they've been super supportive the whole time.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. I've not met Chris Cornell yet, but I intend to. Hello?
Oh, yeah, we're still here. Sorry,
okay.
Waiting on the next question.
Oh, no. And, Shim, you didn't say if your parents come out to shows.
Oh, my parents. Yeah, sorry. Well, my parents are in Australia, and I haven't done a show back there for quite a while. But, yeah, they would come out, and they came out to all the school concerts and all that stuff. No, they were definitely supportive. There wasn't that whole go and get a real job thing. I mean, there was the element of, like, could you go and get a real education and job because it would be smart? And, you know, but for the most part, I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And then when I started to produce the content and produce music and it was going well, and they were like, okay, great, that's what you're doing. So, yeah, it was pretty, I had people from creative backgrounds all the way through. My upbringing, my godfather was an actor and dad was a songwriter, all that stuff.
And that's awesome. That's amazing. Like, that's just amazing. Like, I love hearing, like, little things, like, about everybody's, like, history. And that's just, I get, like, all jitters, like, oh, that's so freaking cool. Okay, so last question before we move into about the band. If you guys could turn back the clock and change anything, would you?
Yeah, what do you think, Chris?
You know, people ask me that, and sometimes you think maybe I would change this or that, but you know what? I don't think I would change anything, because every single step has led to exactly right where we are now. And I think right now is a super exciting time, and what we're doing is super exciting. And no, I don't think I would change anything. I like exactly where I am and what we're about to do.
I agree. I definitely think we're exactly where we're supposed to be. I think the only thing that I might change is what a lot of people ask me when they're like, hey, you're in a band and you're doing it, what advice do you have? And I always regret that I didn't educate myself more at the beginning about how the business that I work in works. Because you miss things. You miss things and you find out a year or 2 years or 5 years later, you're like, oh, if I'd known, I might have had a different opportunity or been able to make a better living or any of those things. So I think the main thing, I wish I'd, taken the time to educate myself a little more, but I was too wrapped up in wanting to be a rock star and having fun. And it was fun, but at the same time, I wish I had educated myself a little more.
If you were to say anything to anybody now who will be listening to the interview when it gets aired, would you give stuff that you like? Would you say like one thing that maybe you would want someone that you missed to check?
Yeah, the first thing is to retain ownership of everything that you do as much as you can. The way that artists can easily lose track of what they're doing is that they're creating their content and creating their art, and they release ownership to someone, and then once ownership is gone, like ownership of your content, your masters, your songwriting, your everything, it's all about, you're creating all of these things that have monetary value and create so many opportunities. And the first thing someone's going to do is come along and ask you to give them a commission or give them a piece or an opportunity based off what you've done. And just to be aware of what you're doing. Just to be aware of what's happening and make sure that you're aware that you own what you're doing instead of this thing of like, no, it's art. And it is art, but it's also a product and a piece of content that you own.
A piece, kind of like a little bit of like your soul?
No, not a piece of your soul. It's the opposite. It's like it's a piece of your soul to you. To everyone else, it's an opportunity to make a buck.
Right.
And you need to be aware that piece that you have now put out to the world, that represents that to them. And there's, to the audience, it's an emotional ride and it's a piece of art, but to everything in the business that we work in, it's a product. And you need to be aware of that as you manage your art in the real world. Because it is art to the individual, but to everything else in the business, it's a product.
You're very right.
And I would say, too, for all the upcoming bands, really focus on your songwriting, just as much as you're playing, which is super important, but a lot of bands don't realize, they think like, oh, I can shred the fuck out of my guitar or play this faster or do this better. Really focus on your songwriting because it's the songs that are going to take you places more so than how fast or how, mean you can play. And when I was younger, I thought it was all about that, playing, super fast and hard, but then you sit back and you learn about songwriting a little bit and how to put together something that people are actually going to like to make you successful. And when you learn how to do that, that's when everyone's going to gravitate towards your band.
And I also want to point out there is proof in the pudding in what Chris is saying, because I never went to school like he did, so he's actually like a real musician. And because I was so bad at my instrument, I had to focus on my songwriting. So I became much better at songwriting over the years. He's absolutely right.
I think that the little bit of advice that you've just given is very important, and I really truly hope that whoever tunes in has a chance to really take that to heart quite a bit, because I've learned stuff myself now, and I have different forms of art, nothing like what you guys do, because I can't hold a tune to save my life.
Yeah.
But I do hope that someone learns from that quite a bit. So let's move into the band.
Can I stop for 1 second? Are we allowed to swear, or is this like offensive?
What?
Can we swear, or?
Oh yeah, I don't care. You guys can say fuck, shit, ass, damn. I do it all the time.
I just wanted to check.
Go for it, Jim. Let her have it.
Okay.
Oh no, you're fine. I do it all the time. I have a solid listener. Her nickname is Vox, and she says it's Serena's fuck count. How many times do I say fuck in a 2-hour tour? And if you guys say fuck, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. All right, let's keep going.
So hey, tell us about Screaming at Demons. Where did the name come from? I've never heard a band name like that before.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that you like the name, because it was sort of an accident.
I do like it actually quite a bit. It's different. It's unique. It kind of jumped at me, and I was just like, okay, now. And when I went to do some history on it, okay, it didn't show me anything about where it was from, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to know this.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you. When the puppies first broke, the first thing I wanted to do was get out and do a couple of solo shows to let people know that I wasn't, done and dusted, and that that whatever I did was going to continue on doing its thing. So I booked a couple of shows, and Russell came out to play with me, and I decided I wanted to give the shows their own title, so it wasn't like Shimon more solo, because it wasn't. Russell and I were going to play a couple of new songs off the project. We didn't have a name, didn't know what it was, but I wanted it to have a title and be its own thing. And I had this piece of art, which was a sort of dark cartoon that a friend of mine had drawn of me screaming down at this sort of werewolf thing. And the name came to me, Screaming at Demons. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. That's got a good ring to it. Cool. Shows are called Screaming at Demons. And then afterwards, everyone who came to the show, and then everyone who didn't come to the show, they were like, when's Screaming at Demons coming out? When's the record coming out? When's the show happening? And it solidified everything. And then after that, the project was just called Screaming at Demons, even though we didn't know what the hell we were doing yet. So, that's pretty much how it happened. And then ever since then, the audience decided that's a great name, and so that's the name.
That's epically fucking cool. And I would really, if you have a copy of that picture, like maybe possibly like on Twitter or on your Facebook page, I will check that out myself, because I would like to see that. I like looking at drawings quite a bit.
Sure, we can definitely send it to you.
Cool. Very freaking cool. So hey, Screaming at Demons, where can we find the music for purchase?
Okay. This is the interesting part of what we're doing. It comes into the Homeless Rockstar story, which we'll get into a little bit in a minute. But what we've decided to do is the first single that the band is going to be releasing is a song called Rockstar that was written to be the theme song for the Homeless Rockstars movement, I guess you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
And the song's called Rockstar, and it's about the movement and about what Nigel Skeet's doing. And the reason that we wrote the song was because he called me up and said, could you write this song and put it together? And then it was, okay, well, what if we put the song out in a way where the only way that you can get the song is not on iTunes, not on Spotify, and the only way that you can actually get a copy of the song to listen to on your phone or your computer is that you donate to Homeless Rockstars, and then we email you a copy of the song. So right now, that is the only way to get our music, and it's going to be starting October 6th. And you're going to be provided a link where you can pop in your details and your email to donate to the Homeless Rockstars campaign. And then you're going to donate to the campaign and get the first song. And then within that email will be the link to our other music, which you can buy the same way, direct to your phone.
Very cool. I was going to actually get into about the song. And so you said it was a good friend of yours, Nigel, who is, I guess, would you say that he's the founder of the Homeless Rockstar movement?
Yeah.
Okay. And I did read a little bit about that, so I just want to make sure that founder was the right word. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So, and the mission behind the project, is to, I guess, from my understanding of it, and please guys, feel free to correct me, is to kind of better understand, and more or less reach out to the community that is homeless, and that, so that way it can also break down the barrier of, like, people who have a home and have a, place to lie their head at night. They basically, like, break down the barrier between us and them.
That's exactly right. It's using the rock and roll experience to create a situation where the community comes together with homeless people within the community, and they create a dialogue and they create a rapport.
And so how do we as listeners get involved?
Well, the first way that you're going to be able to get involved is on October 6th by donating to Homeless Rockstars to get your copy of the song. But of course, homelessrockstars.com has all of the information for anyone who wants to get involved earlier or get involved in a different capacity. So really, Nigel is still developing the movement and the charity and exactly what it's going to be doing. But the plan for Homeless Rockstars at the moment is to take it on a rock and roll tour effectively, and in not like a rock and roll show, but a rock and roll style tour where every month there'll be a Homeless Rockstars event in a different city, so that eventually you can look for the one that's going to come to your city and you can show up and you can help out.
Okay. Very cool. So instead of it being per se like, okay, somewhere like at like the House of Blues or First Midwest Amphitheater, and those are local Chicago venues. It might be downtown per se at like and I'm gonna make this name up because I don't know what churches are downtown, but like St. Joe's or Father Joe's.
Yeah, well, it can be anywhere. We're in the middle of figuring that out. But the most important thing is that it's going to be a monthly experience at a different town so that it can grow and help, so that someone who's over in Chicago and hears about this thing going on in LA, it can come to them and they can be helped as well.
Okay. Okay, we kind of jumped around a little bit. I do have one kind of more band question to ask you.
Sure.
If that's okay?
Yeah, of course. That's
okay.
why we're here.
And guys, I normally like to ask what are your top 5 venues and cities, but I kind of wanted to change that up a bit because I always ask that question. And really, I'd like to know what maybe like your top 5 dive bars and smaller venues that you've played.
Top 5 what?
Dive bars, like hole in the wall.
Oh, like a small venue?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Chris, Chris is going to take this one.
Well, I mean, I always love playing the Vibe Room in LA. It's like a local favorite. It's cool. It's small, but the sound is always really good. In New York, I always like playing the studio at Webster Hall. It's small, but it's awesome. I don't know, Shim, what about you?
I don't really know. I mean, I think I don't really go out that much after the shows. I'm kind of lame that way. Because usually by the time the show finishes, I'll get to the next morning and, like, the other guys in the band or the crew will be like, oh, man, did you see that dive bar? And I'm like, no, I sort of just chilled out. And because I have to do that local red thing when you're on tour. It's really boring. So I actually don't know any good dive bars. I know a good gigs that I played. But
well, yeah. What dive bars have you played at? Like, okay, like here.
You got like a small venue that you played at.
Yeah, small venue.
Sure. I think well, for me, the Chameleon Club in New York State. I forget where it is exactly. I can never remember the geography of the stuff. The Chameleon Club was always cool because it had like 3 tiers. It had 3 levels, but it was really cramped and packed, so it felt like you were playing in someone's house. And it was always sold out, and it was always cool and loud, and you'd always break a sweat. So that was always a good one. And then let me think. Never played the Viper Room. No, we should play the Viper Room, Chris.
Viper Room is a classic. You know what I really like to play too is Stairs in LA. It's small, but the sound's awesome, and everyone gets really into the shows. It gets packed out. Yeah. And some great actuals through there, like Pence will hop up and he'll jump up and play bass or whatever.
Awesome. Cool.
Very cool. Okay, and generally I like to ask this question in interviews. I kind of like to turn the tables around and let the interviewee ask me a few questions. So is there anything you guys want to ask?
Oh, your social security number and your address and your bank account number.
That's awesome.
You're funny. No, no. And
no, and no.
No.
I'm just playing with you.
I know. You're good. No worries.
How did you get into interviewing bands?
Okay, so I started DJing in 2011.
Very cool.
Well, like middle of 2011, I started DJing. And in 2012, we went to Moondance Jam for the first time. And I said, okay, need to do something different because what am I going to do? Am I going to sit at home and use a broadcaster and just be a DJ? Or am I going to grow? And I told my boss, I said, I'm going to interview a band within this next year. And he said, okay, let's do it. And sure enough, in 2013, my first interview was with Hinder. And that was really cool because I was super nervous too because I'm like, okay, there's a really big, well-known person sitting less than 2 feet away from me. Hi. And now it's just okay, cool. And now I'm just learning, well, what can I do to make this interview different? Because every person's going to go from there. And so if someone were to say, oh, hey, I can do that. No, it's different because you don't want to have the same style interview, I love interviewing people. I actually had a chance to sit down last summer, Shem, the same summer I saw you. By the way, you were absolutely amazing on stage with the Puppies. I have to tell you that. I was just whoa, I've never seen them live before.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I sat down with Dale of Cedar, and he actually had asked me, well, how do you put up with guys like us? And I said, well, you guys are really easy to talk to. See? Plain and simple. So yeah, but that's how I got involved in interviewing. I decided I wanted to do something different. So getting out to go to shows, getting involved with phone calls like you, and then being able to have to Miss Shauna, who's super amazing, and so forth.
Oh, she's doing so great. We love working with her.
I love working with her. She's just a sweetheart.
Yeah, I keep telling her to run for president.
I don't think there's any space in Kanye now.
She'd probably do a better job and probably care more about everybody than Sarah Palin and Kanye combined.
I agree. Very on target. Gets her job done. She's great.
Yeah, she really, really is. So one final question I have for the both of you, because I think we kind of covered anything, and if we didn't, then, hey, I don't know what time you guys have, but we can always go back and talk more about everything else. This is my other interview question that I ask everybody, because I like knowing what people like. If you had to pick between American Dad, South Park, The Simpsons, or Family Guy, what show would each of you guys want to see Screaming at Demons on?
South Park for sure, man.
South Park?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's hands down.
Okay, yeah. So both of you guys for South Park. That's cool, because you know what? Nobody's ever said South Park before.
Really?
Really.
That blows my mind. That's the obvious choice.
Well, no.
I'm we're so, Screaming at Demons is just so confrontational that we wouldn't fit on any of those other shows, you know what I mean?
I've had most people say Family Guy or American Dad, so, yeah.
I think South Park's a great show. South Park, yeah, no, that's hands down there. That's it.
Yeah, Trey and Matt are genius writers. To be a part of that show would be the biggest honor.
Okay, so I guess maybe one other question I have for you would be, is there anything else that you guys want to tell our listeners that we can't find on the internet?
I don't know. I'm thinking. No, I think that unfortunately there isn't yet, because we're beginning and if you go to the Screaming at Demons Facebook page, there's everything that we're doing is up there, so everything that we're putting out at the moment. And you have to understand that the band is reverse engineering the way that we're putting out our music and really what we're doing, because normally a band, writes a billion songs and holds it down to a 12-song album and then spends a bunch of money and goes into debt with a label or something to put it out and then release a single and hope that someone cares, and then you go on tour for a couple of years and you try to make everyone care. And we don't do any of that stuff. We're basically saying, we have a great song and we have a couple of other songs that we're going to finish while we finish a few more. And we're not really going to focus on a release date for an album or that sort of thing. We're releasing Rockstar. We're helping homeless rock stars with this song, and then we're moving on to our next single, and we don't know what that is going to look like yet. We're really focusing on finishing the Rockstar campaign. But yeah, other than that, we're we're sort of like planning it a different way where we're trying to release our content one by one and effectively promote it and effectively release it and move on to the next thing instead of trying to, swing shit at a wall and see what happens and see if it sticks, which is not really the best model for success.
All right. That's
keep your eye on the Facebook page.
Absolutely. Keep your eye on the Facebook page. And that is facebook.com/Screaming at Demons. Oh, and I just want to make sure I get all this out here because I've got like a bunch of URLs to tell everybody for all of our listeners. So I want to make sure that you guys are checking the guys out on Twitter, Screaming at Demons, no spaces or underscores, or Scream at Demons, no spaces or underscores. Also, facebook.com/Screaming at Demons. Chris actually has his own Facebook page, which is not a fan page. It's actually an actual page. That's okay. So you might have to be nice to him. You might have to be nice to him in order to let you add it, or for him to add him, or you can even just, check his page out. Because I did. I didn't send you an ad though, I promise. But that's
were you stalking me? What'd you think of all those cool pictures?
That was pretty fucking awesome, dude. It really was. I like checking out. I'm a bit of a photo bug myself. I'm nowhere near what Nigel does, and I'm really liking what Nigel put together for you guys. But
he's great to work with. He just gets it.
That would be Chris Clemence Rapscallions. Yeah, I think I did that right. Chris Clemence Rapscallions. Yeah. Okay. And then Shimon has a fan page. It's facebook.com/Shimon Moore Official. I couldn't find a page for Russell.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Russell's not on Facebook. He's very mysterious.
He's very mysterious. That's why he's not in this interview. He's actually sitting next to me in a dark corner brooding.
He's actually a figment of our imagination.
Is he more like a vampire?
No, he's more like we cut out a bunch of images of amazing guitar players and sort of morphed them together in Photoshop and just put it next to it.
Okay, so it's kind of almost like Weird Science.
Exactly.
Jimi Hendrix, Old Dirty Bastard, and Dave Grohl put them together in Photoshop, and that's Russell Ali.
And we made the perfect musician to cover our asses if you don't really know it.
And is there an Instagram for the band? I couldn't find one.
Oh, yeah, we do have an Instagram. Yeah, what is it?
It's just Screaming at Demons.
Screaming at Demons. Okay, so that was at Screaming at Demons. Okay.
Yeah.
And
also screamingatdemons.com, obviously, the website.
And then, yes, I was actually just about to get to that one. And then also make sure you're definitely going to the band's website, screamingatdemons.com. I think I got everything. I hope I did. Was there anything that would maybe
Yeah, the big thing is going to be, what was the, there is one. Chris, what did we decide on the spelling for the Vivo channel?
Oh, it's going to be Screaming at Demons Vivo. We just partnered with Vivo for the release of our Rockstar video October 6th, so we're going to be putting it out through our Vivo channel.
Okay.
So that's Screaming like without the G, because we actually couldn't make it like Screaming at Demons Vivo. It was one character too long, so we had to. It was a big debate. We had to figure out what do we call it.
Yeah. What letter are we going to cut?
Yeah. So we cut the G off Screaming, so it's Screaming at Demons. That's important to people to know, because otherwise I'll never find it. But on October 6th, the video is going to be dropped on that channel, and so yeah, please keep your eyes peeled, put it in your calendars, and check it out.
So that was Screamin', SCREAMIN, at Demons, and that's going to be on the Vivo channel. And so that the Rockstar video is going to be out there on October 6th. Just to recap really quickly, for our listeners, if they want to get involved so that way they can get a copy of the Rockstar song, on October 6th, they can go to homelessrockstars.com and get their information and get it all set up through there. Am I right?
Exactly. Actually, the best way you're going to help donate is after you watch the video on October 6th, there's going to be instructions. You're going to text Rockstar on your phone to a number that appears, and then you're going to instantly donate and get the song right to your phone immediately. Okay,
so definitely you want to watch the video, guys, on October 6th. And if you're so inclined, do it anyway. If you're so inclined, do it anyway. Text the number and with the instructions, and then a brand new song is going to get texted to you. And then you can also, for everybody who is into social media, you guys can go to facebook.com/homeless rockstars. Check out the movement there. I did. It was very informative myself. I enjoyed getting to learn more about it. You guys, I want to make sure I definitely thank both of you. Russell, too. Hi, Mr. Weird Science Vampire Person. I see you. I can't thank you enough for everything tonight. I guess maybe we could say that's a wrap, unless there's anything else you guys want to add.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I think we covered everything. Thank you so much for the time and for a great interview.
Oh, absolutely. I hope it was fun.
Absolutely. Oh, it was not the best interview of your life. I mean, come on.
Well, I wanted to make sure that it was fun. I try to be as upbeat as possible, so that way you're not just like, fuck, I have to go answer a whole bunch more questions.
No, it's great. Thank you.
So listen, guys, I thank you again. I hope you guys both have a wonderful evening. And enjoy, because I did check out that you guys were going to do a live air later, so enjoy that, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you. You too.